Hi guys, it's Dave here from Metal Roos, and I've got Ryan from Drowning Pool. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, Dave, man. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Big fan of the band, so it's good to get to interview you. All right, so kind of latecomers to this tour, but
Yes.
I'm glad you guys got put on. How does that feel? Kind of,
The response has been great, and that always feels good.
yeah,
To be wanted is a nice thing. So
yeah,
it's a good feeling, especially because I mean, since the band got back together, or the four of us got back together,
yeah,
or I got back in the fold, or however you want to put it,
yeah,
the demand for the band has been amazing, and that's been wonderful to experience. But the only downside to that is that we've gotten so many offers, like we did all the Danny Wimmer Fest this year in the States and everything, that we've had so many tour offers, show offers, festival offers in the United States that that's like consumed all of our time.
yeah,
So like about 6, 7 months ago, we got everybody on the phone and we told them that 2025 we wanted to concentrate on overseas, and we
yeah,
wanted in Australia was one of the top places that we wanted to hit
yeah,
because Drowning Pool hadn't in such a long time.
yeah.
So now I'll be honest with you, and I've said this a few times very loudly, but I was more interested in Australia during your winter time, but that didn't work out.
Nah, yeah, you're coming right in the middle of summer. Well,
Yeah,
towards,
yeah.
but
I
yeah,
I moved to England about 7 years ago because I don't like the sun. The sun doesn't like me.
yeah,
But at the same time, it was one of our top locations that we wanted to hit in 2025.
yeah,
So when this came about, when the Alien Ant Farm, when AJ, when we got the email asking us if we were interested in turning this into kind of a co-headline thing,
yeah,
we jumped on it because it was too often in this business you can find yourself waiting around too long, and the next thing you know it's December, it's like the end of December and you didn't get where you're wanting to go. So
yeah, yeah,
we want to jump on this, and not just for that reason, but also I mean we've done shows with the Alien Ant Farm guys in the past and everything, and just jumped at it. It was it was a good opportunity. We're a little bit behind the ball here as far as the preparation for it. All the legal crap and all the travel plans and all that stuff,
yeah,
crew and everything that goes into it. We're a little behind the ball on it, so we're playing catch up big time right now. But
yeah.
we will be ready for our feet to hit the ground in Australia when the time comes.
That's good. We're glad you're coming. So what can we kind of expect set list wise?
I mean, I don't even know. I
Yeah,
have no idea. This that's one of the coolest things about this band, as far as being being a member of it, is just the extensive discography the band has,
yeah, yeah.
and it's
And
very
hence the
easy.
question. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
very easy to break it down into eras when you just look at the singers, and you know,
yeah,
it's the simplest way to put it, because you have of course the man, Dave Williams. You have Jason Jones, you have myself, you have Jason Moreno, and then soon you'll have the rerun of myself again. But the
yeah,
it's easy to break it down like that, and I'm very conscious of the fact that not every Drowning Pool fan is going to be a fan of well, hopefully they're a fan of every era, but everybody's
yeah,
going to have their favorites. Everybody's going to have their favorite era of the band. So we go into the shows wanting to make sure that fans of every era get to hear something from that album that captured their hearts, that
yeah,
captured their brains, that captured their musical passion. So we try to make it a good mix of the different eras and give everybody, regardless of what their favorite era was, something to smile about. And then the musicianship of the individuals in the band, Mike, Stevie, and CJ, it allows for that. I mean, there's been days we spent last Christmas, a year ago now. We spent last Christmas. Uh, we left December 23rd, and we got home on January 3rd, and we spent the holidays in Poland playing different military bases for the troops that couldn't go home for the holidays. And it was like these acoustic shows. And we're sitting there, we haven't played an acoustic. It's Drowning Pool, it's a metal band. We haven't played like an acoustic show. So we're talking about like what songs we're going to do. And we're pulling out songs that we had never even played together before, like Love and War and all this stuff. And we didn't get together to rehearse. I live in England, they live in Texas. We didn't get together to rehearse. So our first time playing some of these songs was right there in front of a crowd in Poland. But this band, because of the musicianship that those three guys have, we can pull that kind of stuff off. So it's like somebody wakes up with a burr in their bonnet and they want to throw out Mute or some song that we haven't played. We're able to do that. So it makes it interesting for us because we're able to change the setup and you know let's try this, let's try that, and a little bit of this. So it makes it fun for us each night as well. I mean, it's always fun. Any chance you get to take the stage and people allow us to do what we do is a good time, but that makes it interesting as well.
Going back to like why Australia was on the kind of top of your list or up near the top. A fan of the country like the countryside. That what's the kind of deal there?
It's really, I mean, this will mark our third time. Coming over with a Alien Ant Farm will mark our third time, or will mark my third time over.
Yeah,
And the first time was festival season back in the day, like years ago. And then I was just over last year
yeah,
with Static X and Soil.
yeah.
And the metal rock fan base in Australia is awesome. I mean, everybody that came out to the shows was all about the right thing, which is making memories and having a good time. And that's at this point in time in our careers, that's what it's all about. You know, it's every day we get to do this. Every day we get to step into a rehearsal spot, step on stage. It's a gift. So being able to be in Australia and being able to do that with people and seeing the eyes and seeing the type of fan base that is over there for our genre of music, yeah,
Yeah.
it's no brainer to want to go back. But then there's another side of it too that people wouldn't know at all. But the old management of Drowning Pool,
Yeah.
they fired the the agency that was responsible for booking Australia, Europe, and the UK.
Okay. Yeah.
So it wasn't until we got back together again that I started looking into why hasn't the band been to Australia in X amount of years? Why hasn't the band been to these places in X amount of years? All along, the band had no idea of this. They had no idea that they didn't have representation in these territories. So they thought they just weren't getting the offers.
Uh,
Meanwhile, there was promoters and agents and stuff in these territories that wanted the band to come back over to these places, but they
yeah.
had no one to talk to get them back into these
Uh,
places. So it wasn't until we discovered this, and the guys were like, "What the hell?" And so we TKO, who's always handled us in the States, they
yeah.
we got them to do us worldwide. They stepped in worldwide. And so now we're able to actually get back to these places that we haven't been to in a long time. And the band was just unaware that we didn't have the representation in these places. So because of the higher,
Yeah.
the people that handled the band making decisions without the band's knowledge. So now that we got that all ironed out, we're finally able to come back to Australia, and it's been way too long because the guys have been chomping at the bit to do it for years because they haven't. And like I said, I had a hell of a good time last year. So yeah, no brainer.
All right. So you took a few years off from
Yeah.
driving pool, and we just touched on the subject yet then, but what was the kind of reasoning behind that, if you don't mind elaborating a bit?
It was nothing negative. The phone call that when it all took place back in 2011 or whenever that was, the phone calls between CJ and I, and basically it was just like he called me and was like, "I definitely get the sense that you're feeling a little burned out here." And I was like, "Yeah." I mean, when you look at our touring schedule back then, we were on the road constantly,
Yeah.
and it was a brutal schedule. And after years and years of it, I was feeling burnt out, and I told him that. I said, "Yeah, definitely, you're right."
Yeah.
And we were kind of like, "Why don't we take a little break? Why don't we just take a couple months off, step away from it for a bit, kind of recharge the batteries, get feeling better." and reconvene. And then 12, 13 years later, we're finally reconvening.
Yeah.
That's you know, we decided to take a little break, and then we all kind of got involved in other stuff.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, I'm getting a text message from, I'm getting a text message from Stevie while I'm at the pub here in England
Yeah.
last year. And now, if people don't know, Stevie is from Texas. We always said that in this band, with this lineup, you have two Cajuns, a hillbilly, and a redneck. You know, let the good times begin.
Yeah.
Um,
Good album
Stevie,
title.
yeah. CJ and Mike, being from New Orleans, originally moved to Dallas, Texas. Stevie being the one true born and raised Texan, and then myself being from Indiana. But if you're not familiar with Texans don't talk a whole lot, and usually what they have to say you should probably listen to because it's usually pretty pointed.
Yeah.
So Stevie's a no nonsense. He's a born and raised Texan. He's not much for small talk.
Yeah.
So we're going back and forth, and all these years that haven't been in a band together, Stevie and I are both big American football fans. So if we contacted each other, it usually had something to do with football.
Yeah.
But he's just shooting the shit, and it was like an hour and a half of Stevie Benton shooting the shit. And finally, I was like, man, you sure you okay? And he was like, yeah, man, everything's great. And then about 30 seconds later, he was like, how would you feel about getting together and doing some reunion shows? And about sprained my thumb. I was like, yes, absolutely, man. Yes, absolutely. I missed writing with the guys. I missed being on stage with them. To me, in my career, my favorite record I was ever a part of was the self-titled Drowning Pool record. So I absolutely, man, it sounds great. And then about 2 days later, their manager at the time, the same one that got rid of our representation overseas, he gives me he gives me a call, and he was like, yeah, there's no reunion shows. You're back in the band. We got a show with Pantera coming up. We got some more shows in about 2 weeks. So we need to get flights booked up. We need to get everything ready to go. So it's like, oh, okay. All right, here we go.
All right. So I'll finish up with this question, but what have we got kind of new music wise or stuff like that for Drowning Pool?
One of the greatest things that I've been itching to write music for a while now. It's been something that's been lacking in my life. So one of the greatest things about us getting back together, other than just getting back together, has been the fact that it's just lit a fire underneath all of us. I mean, the music that Stevie, Mike, and CJ have been throwing at me has been awesome, and I'm just like we just released Revolution not too long ago, and the only reason that was the first release, I'm not dissing the song. I love the song. And it was very cool the way that song came together, very unique. The first time we kind of took that approach for that song. But we have so many songs that it's crazy. I don't think I've ever sat on this many songs before. I mean, we could probably release a double album right now. It's nuts. But we just haven't, because of the demand for the band, we just haven't had the time to get into the studio to record.
Yeah.
I know as I sit in my living room right now, that's kind of whatever. But this is my first break that I've had. I'm sitting in the middle of a 2 week break right here, and it's the longest break I've had all year. Yeah. Usually it's about 2 or 3 days here and there, and I try to get back home to England and spend some time with my family when I can.
Yeah.
But we're sitting on so many new songs that I'm actually flying back to Dallas, back to Texas here in a few days to do some holiday shows in Texas, including some Toys for Tots shows and stuff like that. But when I do that, I'm actually staying in Texas for an extra few days to get into the studio and to knock some more of this stuff out. The guys right now are recording the music to those songs that we've been working on, so that they'll be ready for me vocally. So we're trying to utilize as much the few days off that we get here and there. We're trying to utilize it as much as possible. It's been crazy to the point where we actually had our producer fly out and spend about 4 or 5 days on the road with us. This last US tour that we did, just to try to get a foot up, try to get some progress made on the recording front. And I can't wait to get the stuff out there. I'm loving it. And so the plan is, and I hate to say this because stuff always changes, schedules always change, but the hope is to get another single out there before we get over to Australia, and then another one before the Godsmack POD tour happens in Europe and the UK shortly after the Australia run, and
Yeah,
then a new album or EP, depending on how much studio time we get, about
yeah.
mid year. We're looking to release actually a body of work.
Yep. Oh, that sounds awesome. All right, well, we'll leave it at that. We can't wait to see you in Australia. What are we just having a quick look at the dates here from 7th of Feb in Brisbane all the way through to 12th of Feb in Perth. Some great venues in there. Metro Theatre in Sydney's my local, so I will probably see you at that.
Oh, right. Cool. Yeah, I'll have some family there actually.
Sweet.
Yeah, the my wife's sisters moved to Australia several years ago. My wife actually lived in Australia for a while. I think she got her apprenticeship tattoo wise over there,
Okay.
or spent at least her early years of tattooing over in Australia.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I got some family. I'll have some in-laws coming out to the show there in Sydney.
Yeah. Sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. All right.
Great.
Thanks heaps for your time.
No, I appreciate your time and putting up with whatever shit connection I got going on here at home. So thanks for
All
putting
good.
up with it. And all right, man, you take care of yourself. And if you're going to be in Sydney, get a hold of John and to make sure that we can kind of see each other face to face and like say, hey.
That'd be awesome. Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you. All right.
You take
Cheers.
care of yourself.
All
Later.
right. Cheers, buddy.